discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Will we adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
That was
We are adjourned.
okay. Then I'll
He's like
call,
carrying these big stack of stuff.
I'll call the Administration and Finance Committee to order. I see that 4 members are here with Alderman Haas, Alderperson Haas being excused. We'll start with item number 3 on tonight's agenda, a resolution amending the fees for basic life, BLS, Basic Life Support Ambulance Service, effective January 1, 2018. I believe we had discussion on this already.
Yep.
Yep. This is
Amended. I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
I read it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, I think it was like a $13.10 fee that was being charged for a service, and now it's going to be back to zero like it was before.
Oh, that's the amendment? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was it?
For basic life support calls, when we don't transport somebody, we don't charge those people typically. That's a practice unique to our city, not unique to other, or not practiced by other cities around in the county. But if little grandma falls and is not sure if she should call or not, we don't want to discourage her from calling by charging her a fee, so we keep that at zero. So I blindly accepted the fees that other people were using, and I should have been more diligent and realized after literally the next day I was going through Chief Bain's historic documents and I came across his justification for why he kept it at zero all those years, and I agree with that. So thought I'd bring it back.
Great.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Alderman Haas is excused. Item number 4, resolution. Approving application to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands to borrow $5 million from state trust funds and authorizing the borrowing and the issuance of certificates of indebtedness and levying a tax in connection therewith. I'm going to make a motion to approve for the purposes of discussion.
I'll second.
And on the discussion, I see
Yep.
Peggy's here, no John.
He was
John's
here
right
a minute ago. I think he ran to the other
John's
meeting.
got it right there.
Oh, John's
he's
right
right
there. I'm
there.
sorry, John's
There he
still here. He ran back.
Peggy's smarter than I am. She can just sit right there. You'll be fine.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
what caught me on this isn't just a loan for a TIF, but it's a loan that says that there is that there should be raised and there is levied upon all taxable property within the city of West Allis and the county of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a direct annual tax for the purpose of paying interest and principal on the loan as they become due. So are we adding a tax to?
We're not adding a tax, but we have to have that language if we want it to be GO debt. We could do it as TIF revenue debt, but the interest rate goes way up if we do it that way. So it would be like doing a public exempt borrowing compared to a leased revenue borrowing, if that means something. So the interest rate becomes very expensive. So we talked about this when we talked about this 84th Street and Ogden development going through, and we said, yes, it's going to be paid for by the increment of the TIF. However, it would be the responsibility of the taxpayers if that increment didn't get generated. So we can mitigate our debt service with any payments coming back in from TIFs from utilities, just like we do with all of our other debt. Our utility debt, it's really not utility debt, it's GO debt. Same thing with our TIF debt that's existing. It's TIF debt, but it's backed by the full faith of the city.
So how, Mr. Chair?
Alderman.
A TIF debt is basically the same thing, but with different interest rates. Isn't the funding, if a TIF goes bad on a TIF bond, we're still stuck with it?
Mhm.
No, not necessarily. It's just kind of like if a business goes in, a strong business versus a weaker business, a strong business is going to get a better tax rate. The full faith of the city also gets a better tax rate than just pledging TIF revenues for the same debt. To the best of my knowledge, we have not done a TIF revenue debt or utility revenue debt here in the past. We've always used the full faith of the city in order to get the best borrowing rates, I believe, knowing that the city is going to stand behind the debt if it doesn't succeed with the designated source of funds.
John, you want something to add?
In addition to that, if the taxes weren't sufficient to pay the debt, we also have access to the revenue of the project before the investors. So the profit that they're going to make off the project goes to us first before it goes to the investors. So we've got additional backup should the property taxes not materialize.
And we have a personal guarantee for the other 2.5, for half of it as well, the 2.5 million that was changed a while back. However, let me just make sure we're all on the same page. This isn't a change, so you might not have seen this exact language before, but this is state trust fund language that we are required to use. So, not sure why you might not have seen it before, but it's not a change compared to all of the debt we've issued in the past for, again, TIFs, utilities, solid waste fund, anything.
We are also getting we're getting paid at a higher tax rate, or a higher rate. Because we said to the investors, you may recall, we'll step in and help you do this, but we're not gonna make it cheaper for you to do it. So we're charging them the same interest rate that they would have been charged by Tri-City Bank if they were to do the deal. So we're gonna make about 100 basis points each year in interest payments that go to the TIF for whatever we wanna use it for, because we don't want them to benefit from our participation. And we also get like a $40,000 fee for even, the same thing that the bank would have charged them, we're charging them the same thing.
I do remember that discussion on this. I see the interest rates are like 3 to 4%, and how much better is that than what it would have been without this?
They will probably get about 4.5.
I think
We're-
they were closer to 5,
Yeah,
and we're
that's
at
fine.
4 on a 20-year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a little higher than a public borrow, but we had two things against us on that. First of all, we didn't have time to do a public borrow because this has to close by January 31st. And the second part is there's a lot of issuance costs for $5 million of debt that would have made it a lot closer to a state trust fund loan. State trust fund loans can be repaid, prepaid at any point in time. So we could change it over to a public borrow.
We could later on change it to regular public borrow if we chose to.
Absolutely. No prepayment. It's not an advance refunding
No,
like the new
no.
law or anything
No.
like that.
And as Peggy was saying, the investors have a net worth of $20 million in totality, but each of the 8 investors is joint and several. So each investor is totally guaranteeing our debt. So we got 8 individuals guaranteeing our debt payment,
The 2.5
the
of the
2.5.
five.
So each of them are personally guaranteeing 2.5.
Does everybody understand what's going on now?
Mr. Chair.
Alderman May.
What additional risk are we taking on through this form of debt and borrowing compared to what we normally do for a TIF? What
Zero.
additional risk?
None.
Okay. An additional benefit would be that
Lower interest rate.
more interest.
Timeliness.
To get the money.
To
yeah,
get the,
to get
yeah,
the money up
to-
front.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we're doing this TIF like we used to do it, and we've now pushed it off to the developer to have it more developer funded. And this one, we were going 50-50 until they went to the HUD insured financing, so now they couldn't get a second mortgage to the investor, as opposed to Mandel, which is 100% developer funded TIF. And that's what our model of the future is try to get there whenever possible.
So when the market tanks this year or next, it's gonna. We're on.
This is laminate.
Find some.
Oh, that's weird. Any further discussion? Everybody got it? Okay. Roll call on this?
Yes, please.
Okay. Alderman Rote?
No.
Alderman May?
No.
Alderman Chapletsky?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So that's a 2-2, so it comes out of this committee with no recommendation. Okay. On to item number 5. A resolution relative to accepting the proposal of Commutel Communication
Move
Solutions.
for approval.
Second.
Any discussion on this? This is, I know we discussed this earlier, this is regarding a replacement telephone logging system for the 911 dispatch, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Item number 6, a communication from the city administrator requesting approval to fill the upcoming vacant part-time librarian position at the public library.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Item number 7, another communication, this one from the city administrator
approval.
again.
Second.
Alderman May, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Carries. Item number 8, I have on here that we're gonna hold item number 8 for discussion at our meeting next Monday. I assume everyone can make that. That'll be
It's early in the week, right?
6 p.m., right? Okay,
Time of the game.
that's it. Oh, yeah, we have a special item on the agenda tonight. Oh, yeah. Item number, well, it's C, matter for discussion, update and discussion regarding our 2018 healthcare budget and options. I believe we all got an email this afternoon. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at that?
Email this afternoon.
It was late this
Oh,
afternoon.
yeah, this afternoon.
I just wanted to
You
make
might have
sure
a-
that
I think
people
you
knew
have it.
that you have
It's
it.
this. Did you just take a look at it?
This is in my drawer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's that's what the email was.
Okay.
So, Rebecca Grill, City Administrator, we just wanted to provide an update of where we are with the health insurance process. We did, come before the committee in December with some of the, activities that we were working on with Horton. So I'll just give a brief overview because we have an intention of discussing this more in depth next Monday.
Next Monday.
But just, things are in flux, but we wanted to just keep you apprised of what's going on. So with the stop loss, our current stop loss carrier wanted to provide us a 22% increase, but not provide us any more benefits. So we're looking at other stop loss carriers and reducing our deductible to 175. That was something we had discussed last month. So we should know more next week because we are looking to the council at some point to approve that. So administrative fees, one of the things that is in flux right now with administrative fees is whether we stay with Anthem for our pharmacy benefits or we would go to the ServU option. The ServU option, I believe, would represent a savings of over $1.4 million. We discussed that at the last meeting also. There will be some adjustments for people such as generics and things like that, and might have to get new prescriptions. We can talk about a little bit more about the cons of those things next week. But that's why the administrative fees aren't set at this point, because if you decide to stay with Anthem, then they would be set one way and then the other ways. But just to provide more information for you on that. So the goal is to have the pricing research for the pharmacy benefit done in advance of the 116 council. So we'll hopefully have more information on the 8th, but definitely by the 16th. So the Medicare Advantage, that was another item we had discussed. That's a bigger possible change. So they put a request for proposals out right now, so we're just waiting for those to be returned. There is an option that if we would go with changing the pharmacy benefit manager and the stop loss, we could do the Medicare Advantage somewhere later in 2018 versus at 3/1 renewal. So that's an option because that would be quite the undertaking to do all by March 1st, because we need to really educate and talk to people about what the changes would be, and we don't want to be doing that in less than 60 days. So I think that's about all, unless the last page of this that I had sent to you was talking about the considerations for ServU. Obviously the first one is the cost savings. No one's going to be medically disadvantaged. There's a mail order, more economical option for members for mail order. I think you get 3 months for 2 month payment. improve customer service. They're a local provider, they're right in Milwaukee, so if somebody actually needed to go and pick up their prescription, they could do that if they didn't order in advance.
They're over in Tosa?
So, so those are some of the benefits. Next week we were going to have a list of some of the challenges or cons, just so that you're presented with both sides of the story for that. So, unless there's any questions, we'll be providing more information next Monday, and if you have anything between now and then, please let me know, and we can have those answers then.
Rebecca, I didn't check the CC on this email. The entire council got all this
Yes.
today? I just wanted to make sure it was. Thank you.
And I'll be having someone attach it to that file, so if anyone wants to look in Legistar of any of the viewing public, it'll be out there probably tomorrow, so.
Okay. Anybody have anything they wanna add or ask right now? Okay. So I think, that's it for administration and finance.
Move adjournment.
Second.
We're adjourned.